Greetings fellow guitar travellers, it's Rowan J Parker here with episode number 3 of Rock Guitar Fundamentals. And this episode is a direct continuation of last week's episode. In last week's episode we learned all about alternate picking and the problems that can arise when you try to alternate pick. Well, once you have your basic alternate picking down, we're going to address the next issue, which is picking synchronization. That is to how to get left and right hands to synchronize exactly together and produce very quick and fluid, accurate lines. And that's what this lesson is all about, picking synchronization. So before we get into the lesson, I would like to encourage you to head on over to my website, which is www.rowanjparker.com, where there's a whole ton of guitar material on that. Most of it is free, and a lot of it you can download. There's a shop as well where you can buy books and DVDs and things of that nature if you're interested. If you want to contact me otherwise, then you can find me on Twitter at Rowan J Parker. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Rowan J Parker, which you can like if you like. I'm also on SoundCloud at Rowan-Parker, and I'm also on YouTube channel Rowan J Parker, which you're watching right now. Okay, so let's get straight to it. This week's lesson, which is all about picking synchronization. Let's do it. Alright, so now we've got to the point where we can actually alternate pick correctly. Let's address the next big problem, which is synchronization. How many times have you heard an electric guitar player sound like this? Well, in my experience, many times. Now, obviously that sounds awful. So what's wrong? The notes he's playing? Not particularly. Notes generally okay. So why does it sound so terrible? Well, the reason it sounds so terrible is because there's no synchronization between the two hands. Basically, what's happening is he's flailing his left hand about as fast as he can and flailing his right hand about as fast as he can and hiding behind a huge wall of distortion and probably say an effect like wah wah and trying to sound amazing. Now, some players are very guilty of this. However, if we strip all the effects away, we can really hear exactly what they're playing. And then when you listen to that, you realise that, actually, this guy isn't playing or articulating everything correctly at all. And the reason is, they just don't have the sync together, alright? So, we're going to do a couple of things to help you develop or start thinking about your picking synchronization. Okay, so let's think about the synchronization issue. You have to ensure that you have exactly one plectrum stroke per note with the left hand, and that the striking of the string exactly coincides with when the digit on your left hand goes down. Because if they're not synchronized together and you attempt to play at any sort of tempo, it will just sound extremely messy and mushy and really won't sound very musical at all. So I'm going to give you a little exercise, which is a development of one of the previous exercises to help you, develop cross-picking and then also synchronization. So here is the little lick. Okay, which is 16 notes long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. i.e. it's a bar of semiquavers. 1, 2... I'm sure you get the idea. Alright, so let me just give you the notes. Go ahead and give you the notes. So we've got D14, 15, 17, and then G14, back to D17, 15, 14, then still on the D, 15, 17, G now, 14, 15, 17, 15, 14, back to D, 17 and 15. I'll just give you the pitch as well, just so you're really certain. It is E, F, G, A, G, F, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, B flat, A, G then F. Almost had a brain embolism there thinking about that. Alright, so 16 notes long, very easy lick. Okay, so a 16th note lick, we've got an outside cross, so we start with a downstroke, and we can also really focus on getting the synchronization really good. Okay, so let's play the lick, and then we'll start incrementally increasing the tempo until hopefully we reach my goal tempo, which will be 190. And at that level, you should still be able to hear every single note well articulated. So let's start cranking the tempo up and just see how we get on, alright? Okay, so I'm going to play this little lick against the D minor chord just to give you some harmonic context, and we're going to start at 120 beats a minute in semi-quavers, and listen very carefully to the sync, and you should be able to hear the sync is spot on throughout, we hope. So let's have a listen. Here's 120 first of all. Okay, so it's well locked up at that tempo. Let's move up to say 135. Crank the tempo a little bit. More or less. Let's try 135. Okay, seem fine at that. And now we get to our first real benchmark, which is 150. 150 for alternate picking would be considered good, generally. Let's try. Okay, so it's still there at 150. If at any point you hear or you can tell that the synchronization is starting to slip, then pull it back by whatever amount you need until the synchronization is perfect. And then once again try and push on and, you know, increase the tempo once again. But don't, you know, kid yourself on and pretend that, oh yeah, it's fine, when really you know it's not. Because if you're not honest with yourself about how it really sounds, then, you know, you're just going to fall into the trap of, you know, the unsynchronized alternate picker who sounds like that, right? And no one really wants to listen to that. Okay, so let's push on again. We're going to push up, let's push up to 160, 165 maybe. We'll try 165. I think that's 165. Let's try. Okay, still seems well within my comfort zone there. Let's push up to 180 now. Alright, I can feel that's just beginning to a little bit be, you know, not hard, but I'm beginning to push now. I'm going to have to concentrate on it a little bit more. Okay, now let's just try 10 beats a minute faster than that, which would be 190. Okay, I think that's 190, hopefully. Let's try. I feel that's getting challenging. I'm still holding it together quite well though, so let's see what happens when we push it to 200. There we are, 200 on the button. Right, let's attempt 200. That's getting pretty hard. I can feel at that point I'm now beginning to struggle to keep the synchronization together, and possibly articulation is not quite as good anymore. Let's continue to push the tempo and talk about another strategy for trying to increase your speed. We've got to 200 and now really I'm almost at my physical limit, alright? You probably play a little bit faster though, so I'll tell you what we'll do is let's push the tempo some more. Let's push it up to say 210 and see what happens. Obviously I'm starting to struggle at that tempo, it's getting very difficult. Let's push it extremely now. Let's push it 220. So, pretty obvious at that tempo, my technique is disintegrated. You can't do 220, it's really beyond my physical limit. So it's all fallen to bits at 220. Now let's take it back down to 200 after we really pushed ourselves to try and reach 220 and see how it feels now at 200. It did actually feel easier. I mean, not easy, but easier. So here is another way to try and increase your speed where you're attempting to get your synchronization together, and that is to push beyond your limit until the articulation all falls to bits, and then bring it back to what was previously a challenging tempo, and you'd be surprised to find that quite often then you can actually play at that challenging tempo. So that really wraps it up for looking at the synchronization aspects of it. The most important thing really is that you listen to how you sound. Record yourself play, listen to yourself with a critical ear, and if it doesn't sound the way you want it to sound, well, you know, go and do something about it. Go and fix it. Go and address whatever the issue is. Don't just, you know, hide behind your wall of distortion and your wah-wah pedal and, you know, get all your mates to tell you that you're awesome when you know in your heart of hearts that there's an issue there. It's the way to really become a proper polished player, you know, is to listen to yourself, and if you know something's not right, just take action to remedy it. Alright, well that wraps up the alternate picking synchronization, and that wraps it up for this lesson, which has turned into a bit of a monster. So yeah, I'm going to sign off now and look forward to next week's lesson, which I don't know what we're going to do that on yet, but I will think of some fundamental issue that almost every guitar player has, and we will set about trying to put it to rights. Okay, well thank you very much for your time and attention. I've been Rowan J. Parker. Thank you very much and farewell.